I'm excited about this episode as we talk about the Hustle Humility, Hard Work, Hustle, and Humility podcast and overcoming obstacles in life to reach a point in which you define as success. And Mike, you've had several of those episodes in your life with multiple creations of businesses, obviously overcoming one of the biggest obstacles in life, which we will let you talk about, is battling and beating cancer, which I think is super inspirational. And when we started this podcast, for me, it's like success doesn't have to be defined by money or sales goals or whatever, fitness goals, right? Weight loss goals. There's multiple different definitions of success. And then in your life, which is still a very short, because how old are you?
34 years old, turning 35 on Tuesday.
I mean, you're younger. I'm 38 and we're young. And to have these obstacles thrown at us at such an early stage in life, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's health, to beat that, to overcome that, to achieve a level of success, I mean, says a lot. And here's the crazy part, man, is like we still have over half our lives left, hopefully, knock on wood, right? So first and foremost, man, just like tell me who you are. Tell the world who you are. A lot of people already know who you are. I do, thank God. But if somebody were to say, hey, Mike, who are you? How do you respond to that question?
I think if somebody random asked me who I am, I would just say I'm a generally positive, happy-go-lucky person. I'm lucky to be here. If somebody in this world were to ask me in the supplement space, in the health and wellness space, I would say my name's Mike. I am one of the co-founders of Be Amazing, also a co-founder of a retail site called Campus Protein. I am the president of Be Amazing. That is my baby because Be Amazing is based on my story, which we'll obviously talk about very soon. Mm-hmm. I've been in the health and wellness space for, this makes me feel old, but 14 plus years when I started Campus Protein out of our dorm rooms at Indiana University. I have two amazing business partners in Tarun Singh and Russell Sachs. Tarun is our CMO and Russell is our CEO. He is the brainchild for Campus Protein, and then we all collectively built Be Amazing together.
Yeah, it's interesting. You started with a direct consumer model online, Campus Protein, which is a unique name. I do want to get into that and how that name came to be. Indiana, fellow Big Ten guy, Hoosier, good football year this year for you. Disappointing finish.
Good, Signetti.
You know, spending some money in NIL, so maybe Campus Protein and Be Amazing are contributing to that or can contribute to that. But like let's start with that first. Is sort of at 22 years old, 21 years old, you get this idea at the time in which this industry is being dominated by bodybuilding.com. If you go back that time, right? Bodybuilding.com, Amazon is kind of a thing, sort of growing a little bit more. Not a lot yet. I worked at a competitor called supplementwarehouse.com back then during those days.
Yes.
So like I was very familiar with that environment. That was my get into this. So crazy idea. You're like, hey, buds, you guys want to start this .com business and sell direct to consumer? How does that come about? Like, were you guys sitting around a kegger? Were you guys just, what were you doing?
Yeah. Okay. It's a very important factor is beer. Yeah. So we were at Indiana University. I was in like kind of the nerdy fraternity house and Russell was in like the meathead house. And the one thing that we noticed was college kids don't have a lot of money, but they're willing to spend money on beer and workout supplements. So I remember I would go to GNC. There weren't a lot of there was a lot of these warehouse websites like the one that you were at. There was GNC, Vitamin Shop, not Vitamin Shop, GNC, bodybuilding.com was still a little sketchy, but that was right about to explode. And it was either you go to your GNC or you order from this sketchy website. So it's we just thought, okay, these kids are ordering or going to GNC and spending $60 on Weightaholic, which is in those little bags.
Yeah.
And you didn't get any protein from it versus Gold Standard. And we were just what if we just bought wholesale and just sold it to our fraternity brothers? And we built this same day delivery, which is pretty much the GoPuff model. We had these storage lockers. We had the GoPuff model way before GoPuff. We just didn't realize it. And we saw instant success. It was everybody in the fraternity, either in my fraternity wanting to look like the meatheads or the meatheads just drinking their protein like they do. It was value driven. It was convenience driven, and it really taught us everything that we need to know. And we failed a lot in campus protein, which allows us to grow Be Amazing so fast.
Let's talk about some of those failures, but before we get to them, I'm thinking about when Facebook started. You had to have a .edu email address to get on the platform. That became the means of communication for people like myself at a UW campus to communicate with somebody at, say, an Indiana campus. So how did you connect with consumers at other campuses to really drive sales outside Indiana University? Because you weren't doing TikTok, right? Didn't exist. Instagram wasn't a thing yet. I mean, you could do Google ads, things of that nature. But I mean, if you're going to call a brand Campus Protein, it's targeted, at least at that point, specifically for college students. So how did you connect with college students, say, at UCLA or University of Washington? What was the idea?
There was a universal social dynamic in every university. There was the cool kids, and then there was the fraternities. And we found the cool kids in the fraternities because you instantly have access to 50 to 100 customers instantly. And what we did was we used whatever connections and networking that we had to find kids at Michigan State was our first one. Penn State was our second one, and UConn was our third one. And we slowly built that demand up. We started with shipping product to those customers. Then we started buying the storage units on those campuses and having our campus managers go to those storage lockers. And it was a really difficult model to scale, but it worked, which ended up being one of our lessons to bring our distribution to one universal source and just ship out product versus having the storage units and having campus managers at 20 years old be responsible for all that.
It's interesting because it's almost like you fast forward to 2025. It's the distributor model for beverage, for example, right? Like, I mean, you're literally selling protein and creatine and pre-workouts or whatever through these storage lockers. So you had to recruit at universities to have a campus manager, right? And so I'm not a logistics guy. I'm a marketing and branding guy. I don't know what your background is, if you're more of a logistics guy, but like that part alone, I know that's what brand, I mean, you look at big brands like Rise, for example, and their energy, that reason why they didn't grow as quickly as they could is because the distribution model was something that they didn't understand. Now they've kind of, conquered that or figured that out, but like, was it difficult for you to understand the distribution model to do that? Or did you have some minds behind Campus Protein that really thought that way in advance, saying like, hey, this is how we make this work?
So we have made a lot of mistakes, but we have made a lot of good calls. And data is our best friend when it comes to building a business. And we saw a lot of data trending to convenience and energy drinks and on the go. And what we did was we completely, maybe in like 2014, built out our own IP of the ability to drop ship and the ability to leverage several DCs so that we can ship out energy drinks all throughout the country. And then we can also compete with the Amazon delivery and 24-hour expectations. And once we built that out pretty efficiently, we were able to sell this little drink called Bang, and then sell this little drink called Celsius. That back then we were the biggest customers for these guys. We were doing pallets and pallets a month. And even Quest bars was similar to the success. And once it gets into FDM or food, drug, mass, it really takes it off of like our ability to grow the brand. We can't compete on price. We can't compete on literally anything, but it does show that our model and the ability to get it to the consumer really quickly works. We just had to find the next brand. And Rise at one point was one of those brands, but Rise is so big right now that the Campus Protein brands are the much smaller brands that do really cool branding, and we get to take advantage of that.
So at 22 years old, when you're launching this from your dorm room in the fraternity and your brothers and you're sitting around, how did you define what success was going to look like?
Oh, I was so ignorant then. So there's going to be, I'm not going to, just because some people don't know my story, but there was a version of me before, and there's a version of me that you're seeing now. And priorities is a big factor of what changed. And back then, I was in a fraternity. I just wanted to be the cool kid. I wanted to be the kid that everybody knows as the Campus Protein kid. I wanted to be my version of the biggest kid in the room. It was a lot of peacocking and a lot less of actual success. But it did teach me how to fake it till you make it. I think that what I thought was success then which was just making sales and being the cool kid, was so far from what actually needed to be done. And what actually needed to be done was to build it out as fast as possible and build a solid foundation. But as an entrepreneur, you jump off the cliff and you figure out the parachute after. So it was kind of that analogy right there.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, being in your 20s, let's just call it what it is. At that point, your priority is making money. I mean, you want to become rich. You want to be able to bankroll your friends. Like, that's what you want to do. And you mentioned back then you're ignorant. I was ignorant in my 20s. Hell, I was ignorant in my early 30s. I mean, it takes a while to grow up. And in your case, like, it goes through either a health event or you have kids. I mean, there's a lot of things that make you grow up rather quickly. But back then, it's like, I want to make as much money as quickly as possible. Was there a dollar value that you had when you started? Be like, hey, I want this to be a $20 million company. And that to me means we're successful.
I think it was 10 million.
Yeah.
And I don't even think, I mean, we were making significant money our first year. We were in six figures, but we were close. And like, for us to do that in year one, like, I think Shark Tank I think maybe it was its first year in Shark Tank. Like, we entered into a business plan competition that Mark Cuban actually was part of. So I remember Shark Tank was still like relevant then.
Right.
But like, we were like competing with like the people on TV and like doing the numbers that they were doing. And it felt really cool. But sometimes when you start a company and you see the top line revenue, it means absolutely nothing, because as my dad famously said, it's not how much you make, it's how much you take home. And we weren't focused on the take home. We were focused on the top line, which is less than probably one of 100 that first year.
Yeah, solid point, right? I think a lot of people are like, what can I have for gross sales? I mean, it's the middle of the P&L that's the hardest part to manage. And that's resources, that's shipping in your case, little things like packaging and warehousing and all these different things that go into it. And same thing with our businesses, right? It's like, that's great. We did X amount of millions of dollars in revenue, but like, what's that middle look like? And what's the take home? And so, especially, I don't know, was the goal ever to grow to sell Campus Protein? Was that kind of a conversation? I mean, you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and they'd say they'd be bullshitting you if they said they didn't eventually want to exit someday. I mean, I think from an entrepreneur standpoint, hell, I'm going to say it, Fit Brothers, I want to sell that shit someday and make sure there's some generational wealth for me and my kids and my family. What about you guys internally? I mean, maybe in your 20s, it was more or less the lines like, hey, let's grow top line. But the exit conversation has to have had come up multiple times.
Yeah, we had people try to acquire us. We had several people within the industry loved our model, but we had too much faith in the model at the time. And hindsight is great now that we have Be Amazing, but back then we had just so much faith in the future. And with every industry, it's very cyclical. And distribution and e-commerce retail, where you can buy a bunch of stuff, was so popular then. And now D2C and hyper-specific shopping is so popular now. And Amazon creates a really tough dynamic. So like, Campus Protein can't be what it is today, what it was. So back then we thought it was like this revolutionary idea that was going to pay for my grandkids' college and so on and so forth, that generational wealth, where now it is completely different. And Be Amazing is kind of the true opportunity.
Let's finish up talking about Campus Protein in terms of, you said there was a lot of failures along the way. And I think that's what I want to focus on, because, I would say we'd all look at Campus Protein and say that was successful. Like, that was a successful venture, still successful, allow you to, branch off and launch Be Amazing. But like, what were some of the big obstacles and failures that kept you up at night, where maybe at one point you thought, shit, I don't know if we can keep doing this?
Yeah. There was so many. So I think the failures is missing opportunity. So we had this GoPuff model. We had no idea what it was, because we couldn't rely on the college student to manage it. We quickly pivoted to bringing it internal and doing one DC, which is, you got to pivot really quickly because your business can crumble, but there was an opportunity there. Then when we started doing our ambassador program, we came across a lot of these people with followings on this thing called Instagram, and they were doing really well. But we felt that our model was, hey, we want the college kids in the fraternities with a lot of friends, not the people on YouTube or social media that are trying to post about stuff. Missed that opportunity. Even though we still trickled in, we have worked with people who ended up having millions and millions of followers, which is really cool, but we didn't pivot the right way there. Even though we had a 3,000 person college ambassador program, which I'm really proud of. our distribution, our brand management was a lot of obstacles. When we were growing Bang so fast, we didn't focus on building other opportunities. And once Bang went to FDM, we had to pivot really quickly. And those lulls when you're growing a company really hurt. So cash flow has been, to this day, one of the biggest lessons. But the coolest thing throughout all these failures is getting to see the blueprints of success. So we got to see Ghost from the true origination from the Nutripulse days to where it got announced during our 10-year at Campus Protein. We didn't know anything about it, but we saw them build it to what it is today and where it ended up exiting. And it's just like, that was a great blueprint. But there was 10 other blueprints throughout that process, which are like, all right, it allows us to look at the industry. Where are the holes in this industry? What do you need to do right in this industry, which we could talk about later? And how do you execute that on such a high level? And that's why we're 4 years into Be Amazing. We're technically a year and a half less because of COVID. We started our business on March 4th, 2020, which basically is just called that a leap year at that point because you're not going to be able to do anything for a full year. And then we hit the ground running. We made mistakes with Be Amazing, but our mistakes, the difference from our mistakes of the repercussions and the ability to bounce back is so much faster now than it was then. We're pivoting with better data. We're pivoting with better experience. We're pivoting with just overall better strategies and better alignment, which is why you're seeing so much success.
I remember when you launched Be Amazing, and we launched Fit Butters around the same time, 2020. And I'm in my apartment, and you sent me the first tubs, and the branding is so much different now. From the first iteration, which is great. I hope you have like a Hall of Fame somewhere at the office with like
the
old school stuff. But it's like, this is interesting. It's different. You guys were using unique ingredients that weren't being used before. You already had a channel in which you could distribute the products. But like, how much different was it for you to be on, let's just call it the distribution side of things versus the brands? Because there's still brand involved with Campus Protein, obviously, 100%. But like, physical, tangible product, your own brand, and having to sell that then out into the world. Like, what was the biggest learning curve for you and difference?
Yeah, I mean, we had a little taste with our Jungle Juice Fuel pre-workout at Campus Protein, but it was nothing of the sort of what it is when you're doing it across a brand, a product line, extensions, collabs. That was the whole thing. It's businesses within businesses. I mean, you're in retail right now. You get it. That's a whole different business.
Right.
There's just so much you need to understand when it comes to delivering the right experience, the right timelines, and then success really throws a wrench in everything. You can do everything right, and the minute you start selling really quickly, everything's like your timelines have to shift. Ingredients need to get delivered on time. The stress, the anxiety. Success is great, but it brings so many more new problems, and the ability to manage that and keep the customer expectations aligned and be able to deliver on a high level each and every time you make a decision. You have to think short-term and long-term with literally every decision that you make.
Think about back in your dorm when you're starting Campus Protein, and at that point, like, you guys are defining what success is, and like I said, maybe it was a $10 million evaluation. How'd that change when you defined Be Amazing, and what does success look like at the early stages of Be Amazing versus what did success look like for Campus Protein? Because I have to guess they were probably drastically different due to maturity, due to business acumen, and realistic expectations. So you and your team, when you sat down and launched this actual new consumer-facing brand, what was success for you guys at that point?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of understanding what was the industry at the time. People were doing on the powder side. This is before beverage really like became an opportunity for every single brand in the industry. So like 2020, Prime wasn't around, Ghost Energy wasn't around. There was none of these like powder businesses that pivoted to these mass opportunities and then sold for billions. So just keep that in mind. So I would say at that point, a $100 million aspiration is kind of there. Build your company up to $30 to $50 million and then sell for a few X on that multiple and go from there. I think that was probably a fair aspiration when you're an entrepreneur. And for anybody who's listening, entrepreneurial math is the most deceiving illogical way to think about anything.
100%.
I remember throughout my entire career just clicking that enter button on the calculator and be like, wow, that's so easy. We could easily do that. And it takes 10 years to do that. So, yeah, I guess that's where our mindset was. But also keep in mind, I'm just coming out of a very scary situation. I'm coming from a new perception on life. To be honest, my only goal and to this day is to have such a lasting impact. I want to be successful. Don't get me wrong. I want to be financially secure and I want to have an exit. But if I'm not having an impactful dynamic to everything that I do, it's not worth it for me, because when you die, you don't die with a bank account. Nobody knows, hey, Mike Yewdell passed away with $1 billion. They're just going to know Mike Yewdell passed away. He built Be Amazing. He did X, Y, and Z. And like, people love him for that. And I think like when I think like that, the dollar amount is not as important to me.
Yeah. And we're going to get to that because that's the main purpose of this podcast, is to get to that story, because I think it's unbelievable. But I also want to still give flowers to Be Amazing, because I see the plethora of products behind you in the stand-up gusset bags, and that has changed, and the IHOP collaboration, and the Greens beverage, which is the first of its kind, I believe, right? I mean, at least that I know of. And you guys have done some things very unique and different. The branding now is, I mean, not that your branding to start with was bad per se, but this is great. This is much more aesthetically pleasing, especially for a broad-based consumer, which is what your products are targeted for. And the story of Be Amazing, which is what we're going to get to, is remarkable and can resonate with so many people. But doing these new things, specifically like the canned greens, I think is super unique, and I thought it tasted great. And going into it, my expectations were like, wonder what this is going to taste like. Like, is it going to just be?
Yep.
But it works, and it works really well. Like, how'd that idea come to fruition? I mean, did you look at the energy drink market and be like, hey, there's all these energy drinks, there's Olipop, there's the sparkling water, like, but nobody's doing this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So we are the first of its kind. We took 2 years to make this product. And I think that's kind of what will be the foreshadowing of this whole story. Is basically when we started the process, we understood, remember, before nobody was pivoting to energy drinks or doing any of these things to become billion-dollar companies. And we saw that, and we're just like, okay, we need to be mass market. We need to have a product, and vegan protein's great, and that's our hero product, and we're really well known for that. Our Super Greens powder is also a really well-known product of ours. So what did we do? We looked at the market, and we're like, everybody and their mother is coming out with an energy drink. Honestly, we felt like the best energy drink on the market was already out there. So what are we going to do? Come out with better marketing and deliver on that, and then somehow beat companies with hundreds of millions of dollars? I don't know about that. Then we noticed that this industry is a follower style industry. So once Prime came out, we knew that we missed the window to be the next hydration drink that can compete with them and maybe do something a little bit more unique. So we felt, okay, so we can't do energy, we can't do hydration, protein, can't afford that. What about doing a greens on the go? Oh, that's impossible. You can't do that. Why? Well, you can do it, but you can do it like Suja juice or naked, where you have to refrigerate it. And we're like, why can't we do it shelf stable? It's impossible. And we figured out how to do that. And then they're like, well, there's all these other issues that come along with it. And we're like, okay, we could resolve that. We get through those hurdles. We get through the next hurdle. Well, it's not going to taste good. They're like, well, everything we do needs to be something with flavor, and it needs to break boundaries of what people expect and what people thought of in the past. And we're like, okay, so we figured that out, and we're like, all right, we got this product, let's patent it. And we're fortunate to be the first to market. Nobody's done it. We beat everybody, and we did it right. And our product, I'm very confident on it, but just like all of our products, they deliver on the expectations, the very high expectations. And it's an incredibly clean beverage. It's an incredibly nutritious beverage with the 10 fruits and veggies. It has fiber in it. It has electrolytes and coconut water in it. It has less than a gram of sugar. So it's not like one of these Sujas or these Nakeds that have 50 grams of sugar in it. And it's naturally flavored, not with stevia, which is really exciting. So that holistic package in a retail environment with really solid packaging. And we could talk about our package refresh and how that has changed the landscape of our company. But it's been roughly 5 months in retail, and the amount of wins that we have stacked up I'm delusional, I'm naive, but my director of sales is just like, people take years to get into these doors, and we're getting into every door that we try with massive success. So the future of the business is going to be probably those two SKUs and the evolution of those two SKUs. But it's really exciting time right now. We're at an inflection point that the entire company, which is really fastly growing on a people level, is very excited about.
And here's your next challenge, right? Scaling that. I think that, I mean, just in general, because we talked about Ghost, and Dan Reiner, some good friends of mine, and that, part of that conversation was energy grew so quickly, trying to secure line time and trying to make sure that you get cans in hands on time. And that's a big reason why they went to the new printed cans, right? I mean, that's a big proponent to growing quickly. If you're getting into Whole Foods and Sprouts and the natural channel and then Targets and all these major retailers, I mean, those POs are massive. They're huge, and they can turn at shelf relatively quickly, especially you put some trade dollars behind it. How do you keep up with demand when you're scheduling out line time through an external supplier? You're not doing it yourself. How do those conversations go?
Oh my God, they go as according to plan, and then they get blown up a week later. Is the best way to go about it. Our initial run was supposed to last us 6 months. We're already, we just ordered our 5th run for the year. That's to be done, man, for all these doors. Yeah, I mean, congratulations, and then good luck with the stress on that, because you have to pay for inventory now and you sell it later. And I don't think people really understand how stressful that is. I think you can very much relate. I shop at Publix all the time, so that's where I buy your bit butters for us. But you might get into your pumpkin end cap and all that stuff. You had to buy probably 100,000 units of pumpkin or whatever that may be for October, but I don't know when you ordered it. You could have been sitting on that with not the ability to make money, and it's really difficult. So what we do is we plan using every software possible. We use every amount of data points that we can, and we just daily look at it. We have a full-time person that is in product development. She is absolutely incredible, and we are constantly running out of inventory, and we're constantly late on restocks, and she's doing a phenomenal job. Yeah. So that just speaks volume to how difficult this is, because I don't think people understand. And with each new hire, I really solidify that understanding. Is you don't just order a vegan protein and it comes a week later. I have 15 ingredients in it. So if ingredient number 7 is delayed, I can't produce it. And if the flavoring is not right, I can't produce it. If I do a perfect job, and it doesn't go through quality control and doesn't hit our metrics that we need, we lose that entire run. And it takes 6 to 8 weeks for us to even get just every single ingredient, let alone the line time. So planning ahead financially and just strategically has been so difficult, which is, I guess, the benefits of growing the company really fast.
Yeah, I think the tough part too, Mike, and you'll relate to this 100%. You can have all the spins and Nielsen data you want. Forecasting demand planning is literally the hardest fucking thing to do on the planet. It is. It's your best 50-50. Yeah. You're wrong more times than you're probably right. And so you plan accordingly, and you don't get enough, and then you're waiting another 8 weeks to backfill that. Maybe you plan too much. Now cash flow is tied up, and you don't have enough money to do something. I don't think normal everyday people understand the stresses that come with managing cash flow, because and I'm sure you were the same way in the early days. Hey, we have payroll to make. How am I going to make sure everybody gets paid? Bills get paid. Do I want to lean on my line of credit? How much do I want to put on that line of credit? There's a lot to it that nobody ever sees. And then they wonder why the price at shelf is what it is. Well, there's interest rates on line of credits that we have to account for. There's lights we have to turn on. There is so much. And it's so, for us, because we self-manufacture, not only do I have to sit on the cash of finished goods, I'm sitting on the cash of raw goods, just chilling there, not making me any money, right? And so, using a co-packer works for most people, but still, beverage, my God, that can get expensive. And those pallets can sit in the warehouse for months, and in your case, it's not the case, which is great. But if you get a Whole Foods out of the blue, and they want you to fill quickly because they have a space, it's all right, you will overpay for a run if you have to, just to secure that placement, right? Like I said, I think it's great. What's been your biggest win from a retailer standpoint so far on those 2 SKUs?
Well, I can't announce it right now.
Yes,
but,
you can. Yes, you can.
I am going to Sprouts to film content later today, so that is right now number 1. Number 2, hopefully maybe your hometown or where you're from originally
Yep.
could be a number two. You want to know my number one success story right now is Harmon. It is
Harmon's
a
great.
25. It's a 25 store location in Utah. They gave us a chance in November of last year. They only gave us 2 SKUs. You guys are nobodies. I've never heard of this type of product. Whatever. We'll give you a chance. We'll give you a flyer. And we then got our third SKU. And then we got our 8-packs in there. Now they want our vegan protein. Now they want our super greens. And it just is a testament of, it doesn't matter how big the doors are. It matters that your product sells. And that story has helped us, one, with confidence going into these much bigger door counts. But also, proof of concept is a really important thing. Retail is scary, very upfront. If you underperform, you really don't get a second chance. So I think Harmon's is our biggest success because the evolution of that. And now we're in so many locations. We're in HEB in Texas. We're in Wakeburn or ShopRite in the Northeast. We have a ton of opportunities. Lucky Save Mart in California. Sprouts is a big one. So it's really cool because it's the future that that collective with just more awareness on our product and the evolution of our product alone. We've made our product better in V2 than it was already in V1, which I'm really excited about.
It's just a shout out to Harmon's. And like you mentioned, some of the nicest grocery stores in the country. Literally, they are well designed. They're beautiful. They carry a good selection. We're there too. They were our first retailer to bring us in. And
there you go.
But here's the best part about something like Harmon's is they're supportive of the brands, and you can fail fast. It's a lot better to fail at Harmon's than it is to fail at 4,500 Walmarts.
Yes.
Okay. So because it costs you a hell of a lot less. So you can try a lot of things, right? And then you can mimic those things and clone those things at other retailers. Sprouts, for example, is the fastest growing retailer in the country. Them and Aldi, they're growing crazy. So Sprouts we don't have them here in Minneapolis. But they're amazing stores. It's a perfect fit for you guys. Obviously, the big wig in my backyard, another perfect fit for you guys here, hopefully in the future. What's been the biggest failure for Be Amazing?
Biggest failure.
Was there ever a point, Mike, where you thought, this isn't going to work?
100%. 2020 until we launched Sour Blue Gummy, I thought we were closing our doors. So I can give you that timeline. So Ghost famously launched their brand with the greatest influencer roster known to man. I mean, you have Christian Guzman leading that, and then you have Max Tuning, which Max Tuning back then was not Max Tuning like he is now. And I mean, we all know his exit and his rise to so much success, which it's so impressive. So we were just like, oh, we can copy that blueprint, and we hired basically a bunch of these really expensive influencers with our initial cash that we invested, and they flopped so bad. Oh, it was such a bad, our influencer expectations with the metrics, oh my God, we got this. These guys are 10xing all of these numbers, blah, blah, blah. Boom. That money went so fast, and it ended up being an even bigger problem. So that was one. But then we quickly pivoted. We were just okay, let's just go to the fitness influencer. We know that works with Campus Protein. Let's just quickly do that. And we launched Vanilla Soft Serve, I think in November of 2020. And we saw a good product launch. We saw the content show up. And then we had Sour Blue Gummy. We were not doing very well. We had 5 employees or maybe 4 employees at that time across both companies. We were stressed. We were just all right, let's just launch the Sour Blue Gummy. Really never been done technically in the industry. It's a sour blue raz at the end of the day, but the name was just so iconic that we sold out of that thing so fast, and we were just oh, maybe we do have something. TikTok was just coming. So we had these new creators. We were just all right, maybe we have something. And then we launched Pink Lemonade Greens, which was never done before, and that was potentially one of the biggest things and almost closed down the company. So another lesson was when we sold out of Pink Lemonade Greens and we had this very high 6-figure day for our restock, we couldn't get the inventory in time to ship it out, and our warehouse flooded, or whatever, the co-man flooded, which paused the shipment. So not only did we delay the actual getting of the product, we couldn't even get it there faster or whatever. And we relate it to the customers, we thought, and we forgot to relay it to our team. And our team basically was just like, what the heck? You're telling our customers, but we don't know, and we're kind of left in the dark. And it was one of those moments where it's just like learning how to run the business evolves too. So me as a manager, as a operator of the company, has evolved tremendously from 2020 to this last year was my biggest growth moments.
And then you talked about, sour blue gummy being a pivotal moment in terms of a flavor. I would have to venture to guess that another pivotal moment is the package refresh and what we see today. Behind you, you guys have a creamer now, which I think I was telling Danny about this like 2 weeks ago. I think I was like,
no, that was April Fool's.
Oh, it was April Fool's? You should do it. You should literally do it. It would kill. I think it would do absolutely awesome. You look at like Super Coffee and like what those guys have done, right? Like it's very, the creamer section in coolers now has gotten massive with different things. Got me. That's a realistic
flavored pre-workout.
Yeah, but anyway, like.
Oh yeah, that was strategic.
Okay, there we go. Right, but I'm looking at that packaging and I'm like, this is just. It's just you're using color blocking perfectly. I think the one thing that I look at, because we're in the collab space too, is you didn't let the collab dominate your brand, and I think a lot of brands out there, which I'll leave them unnamed, they let the collab dominate the packaging, and therefore. Now you don't know who the brand is, and therefore you're not growing brand equity. You look at that Be Amazing IHOP. The IHOP logo is so small on it, but you got enough like little things like the pancakes and the color scheme that it's IHOP, but you also see it's Be Amazing, and you didn't lose that. And I think it's phenomenally well done, and across the board, like it looks like a family of products. What data told you, hey, we need to refresh this product? This packaging, and then how did the new design come to be? Did you do some consumer insight studies? Was it just an internal discussion, working with an ad agencies? Like how do we get to that?
Great questions, and I'm going to connect it to another loss or another learning experience. So we launched into Vitamin Shop with our Super Greens. I think you can see it right here. It's like very bad packaging. We liked it for D2C. It looked great on the website, but it just did not look good on shelves. So we did not perform in Vitamin Shop with the initial packaging. And we knew that our logo was ugly. It's a female dominant brand, and our logo was super masculine. Our packaging honestly was leaning on the masculine side. So we always kind of knew. We got to a point where there was a lot of market confusion with our name. Back then we were Be Amazing, and there's another company out there that is just Beam, and we just kept getting tagged in them. People thought we were them, and we were just like, okay, this is a point in our moment in our company where if we don't change our packaging and our name, then we're going to have to fight this battle for the rest of our lives. And we owned the trademark at the time. Like we were legally fine. We were legally protected. But we made the decision and we worked with them. So it was a really good opportunity for us to say, okay, for in 2024, we're going to revamp the brand for 2025. And we found an incredible agency. They redid Poppy. I think they did Super Coffee. Don't mark my words. They definitely did Healthy Kombucha. We found an incredible agency that we could trust and lean on. And we really stressed them that we needed to be a brand first. Package product second, and with collabs, we needed to make them look special, but we didn't need to lose brand equity. And you articulated it perfectly. You look at our packaging, and you know that it's IHOP and Be Amazing, but Be Amazing is definitely the more prominent look.
Yeah. And I like the stand-up gusset packaging. I think it's. A lot of companies are going that way now too because the cost of resin keeps going up. But this company wouldn't be what it is today without its initial start. And I think a lot of that has to do with, obviously, you and your story, your support group. I remember just like distinctly looking on social media and just seeing the friends that were by your side during this process and the story of Be Amazing. So I'm not going to tell the story. I want you to tell the story, but take us back. I don't know how many years it's been to the day that you found out you had this, the most scariest thing that any doctor could probably tell you, right? Like take us back to how you got into the room that day, being told that news, how you felt. Floor is yours.
Yeah. So, let's go back to 2016. we just started seeing success at Campus Protein across our private line. It was called Campus Protein X, like whatever the product line is. I mean, there was no ability to scale that. Nobody's selling the Campus Protein line. So we decided we wanted to start a new company. And with that in mind, we wanted to look at the industry and see where there was opportunities. We saw that pink taxing with, there was a pink brand at the time. I'm not going to name brands, but they were killing it on Campus Protein. They were selling CLA for $50. And we were just like, this is absurd.
Yeah, fitness killed it.
We were just, I don't know what you're talking about, but that does sound accurate. And then there was these, like, the trend was kind of dying, but it was still there, where they were putting these huge bodybuilders and selling just like a regular tub of protein, where it's just like the consumer is not that person. And we were just like, why does the packaging and the product and the marketing need to be so intimidating? And then there was this verbiage of like, only the best can take our product. And we're like, why not the worst and like become the best? Yeah. And we're just like, all right, let's be inclusive. Let's be positive. Let's be like accurate. And it does obviously show that like we opened up an entire 50% of the female audience to health and wellness in a really safe environment. And obviously that's why we succeeded there. But that was kind of what we set out to be. It's like, what is this brand going to be? Those are like kind of the bullet points. And we went to go raise money. And in 2017, 27 years old, I was in the best shape of my life. I was probably working 12-hour days. I just developed I thought it was a harmless cough. It was not going away. You obviously go to WebMD after a couple of weeks and you're like, what is this? And I was either dying or it was like walking pneumonia. So I was just like, oh, okay, let me just go get an x-ray. I probably have fluid in my lungs and I just got to go get like antibiotics. I go to get x-rays, and on July 27th, I get brought into an emergency room, and I'm in the emergency room with my family, and I cannot figure out what's going on. And after getting a CT scan and the x-ray, they found 3 tumors in my chest. They found a tumor the size of a grapefruit sitting on my lungs. They found a tumor in my shoulder the size of a tennis ball, and then they found a tumor growing on my esophagus, which at the time I didn't realize this, but I was having trouble swallowing food. And it all kind of plays into, like, with hindsight, obviously, like I had so many symptoms, but when you're 27 years old, you don't think this stuff. Right. And on July 27th, my entire life went on pause. Like, it was the scariest, most impactful day of my life, because with those words, you have cancer, everything changes, and it changes immediately. You go from living life moment by moment to realizing that every second counts, realizing that the figurative gun is pointed at you, that you're in the corner and you only have 2 opportunities. You have to give up and say, why me, poor me, this sucks. Or you say, this isn't going to beat me. I'm going to beat this. And I was very lucky at the time, because the rare cancer that I had a really good prognosis. They said to me, hey, like, you have a 90% chance with this one treatment to be cured within 4 months. And I was just like, holy crap, 4 months? Like, I can do this. Like, 4 months, this is going to suck. Like, obviously, I'm thinking of every movie or every show that you see these people battling, and you think the worst case scenario, but like, whatever. So I buzz my hair and I say, you know what? I'm going to do this on my own. And in 4 months, I'm going to show everybody, like, what I can do. And, like, I'm not going to let people feel bad for me. I'm going to show people, like, hey, this is an opportunity to be like, hey, here's an opportunity. I'm going to create a really new lens of everything. And 4 months goes by, and the doctor calls me in and tells me, hey, I have unfortunate news. The chemotherapy failed. You unfortunately are not one of those 90%. And my odds just went from 90% to another less percent, or 70% or 60 something percent. And we went to another treatment, and I failed that treatment. But at the point of the 6 months, Russell and Tarun, my 2 best friends and business partners, pulled me aside, and they didn't want to impose anything on me, but they just wanted to tell me that, hey, only your immediate family and us know about this. Like, you have no idea, you coming to work each and every day, you living life the way that you do, how inspirational that was.
Right.
And I was just like, to me, I was just like, well, I'm just trying to live life. It's just, I only get one option. There's some people that don't get 27 years of life. And they're like, well, I think if you told more people this, like, you would really help a lot of people. And I didn't think anything of it, but I was just like, you know what? I will take your advice. But I want to do this for a good cause, because at this point, just telling people to tell people feels like it's my attention that I'm getting. So it's just like, I have this fundraiser I'm doing. It's like a little bike race called Cycle for Survival. I'll post an update. And I think the theme, like, this haircut isn't on purpose. This haircut is on purpose. I'm battling right now. Here's my situation. I appreciate you guys thinking of me, but at the end of the day, like, I would love to leave an impact. And here's a link to this fundraiser. And I clicked post. I called my dad. I was just like, hey, Dad, I got 12 minutes. I'm walking home right now from work. What's going on? Just a typical call with my dad. I get to my apartment in Manhattan. I put my phone down and I look at it. And, you know, back in the day where it was like 500 pluses, like the badge on your phone, like I had that on Instagram. I had that on Facebook. I had 200 text messages. I had about 40 missed calls, and it's only been 12 minutes. And I quickly realized, like, how much love I had and how much support I had in my life. And we raised at that point $25,000 in 12 minutes. We got to see the best friends and the best family that I ever have and still have to this day. And this was the start of impact and showing what you can do with an incredible story. So this plays a huge role into who we are as Be Amazing. But let's go back into the story. I failed 3 more chemotherapies. They had no idea what to do. My odds went from that 90% all the way down to 30%. My hospital at the time had no idea what to do, so I ended up switching hospitals. I ended up switching hospitals and doing a really rare form of radiation, followed by a stem cell transplant. And that's basically getting a brand new immune system. And that was the treatment that saved my life. And I got that treatment 6 years ago. I've been cancer-free for 6+ years now. And the name of that treatment, or the acronym of that treatment, was called the BEAM treatment, BAM. And that's where the name Be Amazing came from. And I sit here today as healthy as I possibly can be. I'm about to get married. I am so lucky to be here today. I feel lucky every day that I wake up. But yeah, that's how life happens. And finding your why was the reason why I am who I am today.
When you're sitting there and you're being told your chances of survival of 30%, and I don't know how they verbalized it to you, is there a point where you're just like giving up?
No, you never give up in that sense. You give up on the holding on to too much. You lose the depth perception in life. You lose the ability to be like, okay, I'm going to be here when I'm 50. I'm going to be here when I'm 60. But you're going to fight like hell. You're going to make sure that you do everything in your power to be the healthiest and get through this. But you just don't know if you will. So you lose that 5 years down the road. You just are so in that present moment, which is actually a gift at the end of the day, to be so present. I'm probably one of the most present people ever, which is a good thing and a bad thing. But yeah.
Was there ever a moment, and that, you know, I hate even to ask this question, but like where you felt so sick or you were in so much pain where you thought you were going to die?
Stem cell is a really tough process. So basically what happens is they turn off your immune system. They give you such strong chemotherapy that you kill 100% of your immune system. And this wasn't maybe like a so sick feeling, but I just got radiation for a full month before. So radiation, if you really think about it, it's really burning up tissue inside. So my body before the stem cell transplant was healing that. But the minute you turn that off, that immune system, you basically have 3rd-degree burns internally. And it is probably one of the most painful things ever. And then you go on all of these pain medicines, and then these pain medicines have such a tough ramification on your body, such tough side effects because you don't have an immune system, that then you have to deal with that. So if you've ever seen the movie Bubble Boy, but I had to live in the hospital for 2 months with no immune system in a room by myself, feeling horrendously, not being able to eat normal food because if it was microbial, it could kill me. So it was one of these situations where the quality of life was so low. But no matter what, I clinged on to, whether it was 1% of life I had or 100% of life that I had, I clinged on to it with everything in my being.
So you mentioned on July 27th, you were told about your prognosis. What was the date in which you were told you were in remission?
October 23rd.
Never forget, right?
Never will forget that.
And then you're obviously, you just mentioned earlier, you're getting married, a lot of cool, positive things going on in your life. So you have obviously this massive health scare that changes your perception on everything. Meet the woman of your dreams, getting married. Like, how has, the last part of success is obviously like beating cancer, fuck cancer. We did that, right? We're still doing that every single day. We built 2 businesses, but how do you define success for you in your personal life in terms of your maturation process of being the person that you are today? Because I've got to imagine, like, we're still just in the early chapters of your life, and there's going to be a lot more maturation and growth, both professionally and personally. What would you say has been for you internally, like, the biggest success from a maturation standpoint and a perspective standpoint on life in general?
That's such a good question, because I think growth is my success. I'm growing every single day. I'm becoming a better person towards my future wife. I'm becoming a better business person for my team, more reliable, building out whatever I need to do to make my team successful. And I'm building a business that not only is successful on a financial level, but we've raised so much money for cancer research and other philanthropic initiatives. So impact is my driver of success. If I'm impacting the people that are within my satellite of my touch points, and I'm impacting them positively, then I feel like I'm successful.
So as a final takeaway here on the episode, and I do appreciate your time and going through, obviously, the history lesson of Campus Protein, the history lesson of Be Amazing, and the history lesson of your personal health conflict. And thank God that, the changing of the hospitals and the beam medication process, which is, I didn't know that. I did not know that. So that's the first I heard that, saved your life. What, in this moment now, you have an opportunity to give some advice to others who are struggling, and they're trying to find success and whatever that is, and just can't seem to find it, whether that's happiness, whether that's they're struggling with addiction, or they're going through similar something that you went through from a health wise, or they're an entrepreneur. Like, what's some of the best advice that you've ever received or kind of articulated through all your life experiences that you could share that could help anybody in any situation who are struggling to find success?
I think the best thing that I've learned is, you know yourself the best, and your gut feeling is always there, and you know it. And maybe you're confident to follow that gut feeling, or insecure to trust that feeling. But if you're passionate or happy about something, you'll know it. And the ability to wake up every single morning and use that gut happiness or that passion will be the reason why you succeed or break through. Because my firm belief is to go through something means that you have to come out the other side. So what is the point? Because you don't get challenges that you can't overcome. So find your why and figure out what your benefit is to go through something like that. And it will allow you to go through a process that embraces it and cherishes the before version and the post better version of yourself.
Love it. Love it. Well, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. And congratulations to all your success as well.
Just trying to follow in your footsteps, my man. Just trying to follow in your footsteps.